Hey, what's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and it's time for Trench Talk. And this week, I've got an interview with Daniel Hannesson of Cult of Lilith, and really enjoyed talking about the new album Mara, influences, the recording process, some of our shared interests and influences, and so on and so forth. So definitely excited to share that with you now. But before I do that, if you haven't already, if you're new to this podcast, then be sure to subscribe. And by the way, this is available on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox. Basically, you name a platform, you can listen to it there, and also on YouTube. And regardless of what platform you're on, be sure to also subscribe to the YouTube channel because there is tons of other content for you to check out in video form there as well. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon. It really helps, even just $1 a month. But that out of the way, let's get into the episode.
I'm Daniel Thor Hannesson. I'm the guitarist and founder of Cult of Lilith. And we call ourselves necromechanical baroque, like mixing death metal style mechanical sounding riffs, in the vein of Decapitated or Meshuggah with some more old school flair, like in the terms of like baroque and classical music, using that as influence and a range of other things as well.
Cool. And kind of starting from the beginning, like what made the band come together to begin with? How did it all get started?
So yeah, I've been trying to form a band for years and years, and just picking up the guitar when I was a kid, and first learning songs from other musicians and stuff, and starting to write my own stuff. And yeah, I've been looking to form a band for over 10, 15 years or something, and I decided in the end, because it was just really difficult to find other members for the band that were on the same page, that had the same ambition as I did, and like the same music and stuff. It's hard with a niche genre like this, and so I decided to release an EP in 2016, just as like a showcase for other musicians here in Iceland to take notice and want to take part in the project. Just to see that I was serious about it. And it wasn't really until after that the ball started rolling. I started gathering members in the band and getting a vocalist in 2018, cemented the full lineup that we have today.
And I remember when Arcanum came out, and I was quite impressed with it. It was definitely a solid start. You turned my head. I definitely was picking up on kind of like the Black Dahlia murder vibes, like a little bit on that one. I am curious, is that an influence of yours, or is that just kind of naturally how it ended up sounding in some ways?
Yeah, for sure. I like them. I listened to them a lot a while ago. I listened a lot to Miasma when it came out. Miasma. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I listened a lot to that record, and I've kept with them since. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan.
But then though, so the shift then on Mara is like night and day though. Like it was quite interesting to go from that. You kind of built a foundation, it feels like, with Arcanum, and then with Mara, all the craziness comes out. So tell me a little bit more about like what inspired all of that and what that recording process was like.
I guess it's just a lot of different influences, For Arcanum, I think I chose more. I had written a bunch of songs and a bunch of riffs, and it only being like 5 songs, I wanted it to be more kind of just straight up death metal on that record. But then I just started thinking, I want to mix all these different influences into it. I don't want to be in a million different bands and all these side projects and stuff. And why not try to scratch all these different itches in just one project? Try to mix it and challenge myself to make it cohesive together. And so some of the stuff on Mara is actually stuff that I wrote before I even released Arcanum, or before I even wrote some songs on that EP. So it's always kind of been there, just finding a way to utilize different influences, and also getting a vocalist on board that has more range, just kind of made us gravitate towards that direction, to have the music also have more variety.
Have you always been a fan of like baroque and classical and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's captivated me from a young age. As soon as I heard it, there's just so much emotion in that type of music, and it resonated with me right away. I remembered, like, when I was first picking up the guitar, I saw someone play Bourrée by Bach, and I thought it was just so fucking cool that I went and picked it up myself. I have to learn it as well, and I kind of fell in love with it there. Just the counter melodies and how it's composed is really cool. And I think death metal as a whole, or like a lot of bands at least, are influenced by classical music and baroque in how
Yeah.
they use harmonies and stuff. So
Yeah, it's always interesting to me because like people I know who I feel like the kind of just feelings about metal in the general public have shifted a lot recently, but there's still like it's interesting to me when I talk to people who don't really listen to metal and still think of it as like this big dumb kind of music when really
yeah,
like to me it's one of the most like technical and composition based kinds of
for
music
sure,
out there, and like you said, yeah, it's very influenced, I'd say even more so than like most of what you hear on the radio by these
absolutely.
older sounds. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been really cool to hear bands utilizing this. In fact, another thing I was thinking of a lot, even though the albums sound very different and kind of go in different directions, there were some comparisons I was drawing to the latest Igorrr record.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if you've
Oh man.
listened to that.
I love that record, man, and I'm a big fan of Igor in general. Actually, I've been listening to him for years, and Gautier said is just freaking. He's awesome. How he mixes everything. I just like bands like that mix genres and stuff
Hmm.
together in a hectic way, and just it's unexpected. So I know not everybody does, but I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too. That dude is a fucking madman. Like
Yeah,
he just
it's
that's the other thing, like not only do I love just genre fusions in general, but I kind of just like the attitude. To me there's nothing more metal than the like I don't give a fuck what you think attitude, and to me that's like the pinnacle of that is just like I don't care who this alienates, like this is what I want to make and that's how I'm going
yeah,
to make it. And so
exactly.
yeah, it's interesting. Are there other more like modern and recent bands and artists that particularly influence your sound?
Yeah, more modern, like recently, definitely Igor throughout the years. Between the Buried and Me were
Oh,
a bit like earlier, like they're also blend genres and stuff. I'm a big fan of that. I was listening to them a lot on the Silent Circus era to like
yeah.
Colors, and I fell a little bit out of them after Colors, but then they started piquing my interest again recently, actually, and they're just such a sick band, and how they mix things together is really cool. Also, another band that mixes genres together, particularly on their last album, that I thought was really interesting, but they do it way differently though, with more like avant-garde and black metal. Is Dodheimsgard?
Okay.
That band's
Yeah.
super sick. Their last album is amazing. So yeah, I'm just a big fan of that blending. And like you say, like just do what you want to do, what you think sounds cool, and draw inspiration from anything. And if somebody doesn't like it, then fuck it, man. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure some people will resonate with it anyways, So
Yeah, totally.
and
And
and more recent artists, Revocation, I think is super sick. I love
yeah,
that.
their latest album was really good. I
It's
liked it a
really
lot.
Yeah, it's one of their strongest ones actually, and Dave Davidson's a sick guitarist, and that album also has a lot of variety. It has a lot of different feels and stuff, but still sounds like Revocation. But it's a great, very well balanced album.
Yeah, you're striking a chord with me, especially with BTBAM. Like that is close to my heart. Like I still remember picking up the Silent Circus at a record store in high school and it just blowing my fucking mind apart. Like that was definitely
Yeah,
like an introductory album into like weird kind of mashup, just do whatever you want kind of albums.
yeah,
Um
exactly. Same
yeah.
here.
And now that you're talking about it too, like I can hear some of that maybe in some of like the guitars But I was also just the entire time I was listening to this, picking up on like, oh, I'm hearing a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and like things from
Yeah.
all over the spectrum though. Like I'm hearing like Inferi in terms of like just sort of traditional progressive death metal. I
Mhm.
don't know if you're aware of Sixth from the
Oh,
UK,
dude,
the
that band is
mathcore band. Yeah, dude.
that band is sick. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's an awesome band. Like I listened a lot to Death of a Dead Day.
Yes,
That
dude, that's
album
my
is
album right there.
amazing. Dude,
I'm
it's
all
sick.
I'm always excited when I meet people who actually know that album too, because
Yeah.
I keep joking too that like they did what Periphery has been so successful with way
Yeah.
before Periphery did it. They were just like ahead of their time was the
They
problem.
were completely. Yeah, I think that's also maybe why they're kind of underrated,
Oh yeah.
and so little known is because I guess just people weren't ready for it or something because they're super unique. And
Yeah.
dude, that album blew my mind. I had never heard of them, and I can't remember who, but somebody I was talking to somebody
Yep.
about like music that I liked, and he was like, "Oh, have you heard of the band Sixth?" And I was like, "No." He told me to check him out, and just right away when I heard like flogging the horses, I was like,
Yeah, man.
"Holy shit! Like, what the hell is this, dude? This is insane." Yeah,
Yeah.
Periphery, in my opinion, owe their sound to like Sixth and Meshuggah, something like that.
Yeah.
They're like a blend of those two bands.
Well, and I appreciate that Periphery kind of like paid tribute to that in a number of ways. I mean, for one, they took them on tour with them, which I felt like was really cool. That it's like, hey, obviously you influenced us, so now we're gonna like give you some more exposure. And then
Yeah,
Mikey had a vocal part on Periphery 4, their latest one too. They're
okay.
like that opening track that's like 12 minutes long. Like he
Oh, yeah.
is on that, and so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
sick. Like I remember in college, similar experience. Like somebody sent me down like a mathcore rabbit hole on YouTube, and I was
Mhm.
just like looking up anything I could find. And I came across the Bland Street Bloom music video, and I was
Yeah.
just like, "Whoa, like what is
Yeah.
this?"
It's fucking sick. Dillinger Escape Plan as well,
Yeah,
man. Those guys are amazing.
for sure. Yeah, and went out at the top of their game, which I definitely respect.
That is cool. Yeah, just
Yeah,
to quit at the top is
yeah,
awesome. To leave a legacy like that.
yeah. So I'm hearing all that, and then also like Flesh God Apocalypse kind of comes to mind listening to some of these parts too. And yeah, man, it's a sick record. Like I'll just I'll
Thank
just put it out there. It's really cool, which is
thank you, man.
why like I always try to have people on here that like I hear the album and it just makes me really want to talk more about it. And because I
Mhm.
have so many just thoughts and just want to pick your brain even more about everything that went into it. Yeah, tell me more about like recording it, and were there sort of challenges along the way? What were your favorite parts to record and things like that?
Um, yeah, it was definitely challenging. Mostly because we all work like full time, and we have to find some time to record the album on just weekends and stuff. And we're all perfectionists, so we want to have everything. We want to do the material justice and really put in the time and effort into making it as good as we can. And yeah, there was just so many weekends that went to recording it. It was challenging. The guitar part, the guitar recording was grueling. It's
Yeah.
like 4 tracks, 2 tracks each, and everything has to be perfect. And you want to one take as many things as much as you can. And yeah, mostly that was challenging. Just putting because you're tired after work and you just want to relax and do some brain dead thing on the weekend or something, but then you have to go and it's strenuous on the head, to be recording and stuff. But it was a lot of fun though as well. Just seeing it all come together is so gratifying, and it was a lot of fun when we had recorded everything. The guitar, the bass was there, and we had this kind of rough mix just from ourselves. And when we were starting to record the vocals and just us being there and recording the vocals with the vocals and tweaking things a little bit, and tweaking the text maybe to fit the pattern a bit better, or, and just the magic that happened there and how it was all coming together was just exceeding our expectations. So that was a lot of fun.
Did you have a favorite song or just part that you enjoyed recording or just stands out the most to you?
Um, it's difficult to say like that. A favorite song, but yeah, there were some sick parts, and definitely we're recording the vocals in the studio. Like our vocalist Mario has this kind of maniacal, just like a lunatic raving or something in the song Comatose. It comes
Oh,
like
okay.
this part on after a heavily like Meshuggah inspired riff
Yep.
where he's going nuts, kind of like a Mike Patton-esque thing, and that was really cool just hearing that come together. Where was and then also a little break on the track Enter the Mancubus, where there comes a break at the end, and we all did these kind of what do you call it, anguish torture screams or something in the break before the riff hits in again, and yeah, that was fun too.
You're naming some of my favorite songs and definitely moments too, and more reference points too that make me very excited and also feeling very validated because yeah, Mike Patton, just amazing vocalist, and then of course Meshuggah. Like I can't tell you how many Meshuggah comparisons I've made this year too. My last episode actually was, I don't know if you've heard the new album from this band, Humavoid.
I have not heard of them.
They are really cool. So it's like Meshuggah, like early Meshuggah. In fact, there are certain parts on the songs that like totally remind me straight up of like Destroy, Erase, Improve. I even in my review had a like little 1-to-1 comparison. But then they have two vocalists. The lead vocalist is a female vocalist, and she plays guitar. And so it is like, it is the coolest thing, and it bums me out because like nobody's talking about this album, but it is definitely one of my favorites this year.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing. I will definitely check that out. Well, the band name is Humavoid.
Yes, and they have a couple of pretty cool music videos up, and it was cool talking to them because they actually made their own videos for this too, and they look very professional and they're pretty cool. So yeah, definitely check them out.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Other standout moments during recording. I also love hearing stories of like kind of when everything went to shit, but you were like able to bring it back together. One of my favorite documentaries is I don't know if you're a Lamb of God fan too, but there's this great like little mini documentary on them recording As the Palaces Burn. And it was just a complete disaster, the entire recording process. And it's just so interesting to hear because I love that album. It's one of my favorites, but they talk
about great.
Yeah. But they talk so much about how the production was a nightmare and they weren't happy with how it came out because they like lost the masters at one point and then they were like working off of a different copy. And I'm like, that's part of the charm though. So were there any times on this process where things started to go south, but you had to salvage it?
Not in that sense. Like we didn't lose anything or nothing like that. That we're pretty lucky about that. But we were definitely getting frustrated at times and just spending so much time on this again, and like the guitar recording and me and our guitarist Christian actually at one point like got in each other's face and we were both getting pissed off and tired of each other, and we almost got in a fight there, but nothing too bad, we just both kind of settled down and just frustrations, just all of us getting kind of pissy and stuff because we're just demanding so much out of each other, during the recordings. Everything has to be great. Everything has to be up to our standards of quality. So, but nothing too bad. I didn't see that documentary. I'll have to check that out. I listened a lot to that album from As the Palaces Burn, from Lamb of God. I mean,
yeah.
But I remember some documentary that was about their live shows where like Mark Morton punched Randy Blythe or something like that. Was that Philadelphia or something? I can't remember the name of that one. But
they've definitely had their moments.
Drama is always interesting.
Yeah, it is like that's kind of the give and take of especially metal bands. I feel like is you know, I try not to like play into drama, but I can't help it. Like when I hear stories like that, it sort of adds a little extra like intrigue to the band,
Yeah,
and you hear it in the writing process. Like I feel like some of the best albums have been recorded under that kind of strife. So it's sort
yeah,
of
complex
it's
stuff.
a
Yeah,
love-hate relationship with that.
yeah, for sure.
Tell me more about the concept of this album too, because there are definitely like I saw the press release is pretty long in the email, and I enjoyed kind of reading into that. But I want to hear sort of in your own words, sort of where the whole concept of just overall Lilith and Mara and all this stuff sort of plays into the music.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said before, a long ass time ago, I wanted to make a band, and I've been thinking about this since I was like a 15-year-old kid or something, you know. And I was thinking for a long time, like, oh, what should my band name be? And I wanted it to be Cult of something. I wasn't sure what yet, and I was like looking for evil goddesses and stuff, and I remember actually like way back when I found this Roman goddess called Isis, and she yeah, I was reading about her. There was this cult. Don't remember exactly during Roman times or something that were these anti-Christians, and so at first I was like Cult of Isis, which I'm really happy that I didn't choose now with you know what had like a terrorist group later called ISIS and
Yeah.
stuff, but wouldn't have been a great name. But then I stumbled upon Lilith, and I started reading about her, and just a really intriguing mythological entity, you know, and so multifaceted and like layered, she's in a lot of different mythologies and religions and stuff. So I thought she was just the perfect candidate of a cult, you know, and that's where the name came from for that. And then we've just been building the theme on top of that, like with the attire that we use live and everything, just something like a cult, something elegant where you know it kind of ties into the baroque influence and the classical influence, and we didn't want to go the same route as so many bands with a black hooded cloaks or like, you know, robes
Yeah.
or stuff. Just it's been kind of overdone. It's cool, it's a cool aesthetic, but just we didn't want to do that same thing. And the concept of the album, it's not like a strict concept album per se, but there's some recurring themes throughout, and the lyrical themes being like a blend of dark fantasy and dystopian sci-fi and cosmic horror, and also some, you know, difficult personal experiences of our vocalist. We felt that it was an assortment of nightmares kind of,
Hmm.
and I remember seeing this painting sometime by I think his name is Henry Fuseli. He did this painting of this kind of troll-like entity sitting on the chest of a sleeping woman. It's a really
Oh,
cool
I've
painting.
seen that. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
classic.
it's really cool, and that's based on the this legend of Mara, uh, where she's this entity that sits on you while you sit in like a paralyzed sleep, you know, and she brings nightmares to you basically. So when people get sleep paralysis and feel this entity like around them, that's supposedly Mara, you know, and so we thought, hey, that's pretty fitting for an album that's an assortment of nightmares, you know, some entity that brings them to you in your sleep. So that's kind of how the thought process for that.
And that comes into play, I feel like, too, on the music video you all put out as well, because you've got kind of this sort of siren type character, almost like
Yes.
calling to this guy, making him like murder all of his uh his mates or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. It's that's based on the lyrics of the song Purple Tide, actually.
The timing is interesting too, because I, you know, a couple months back the Lighthouse came out and I watched that, and I was getting some vibes from that as well, because you got the whole thing with like the sirens and the mermaids, and uh yeah, just
It's
popular
funny.
aesthetic.
It's funny you say that because the director, and when I was discussing the concept with him, yeah, I was telling him like we were coming up with the concept and stuff, and I was telling him like, oh, yeah, it kind of reminds me of the lighthouse. You know, we were talking here and the storyboard and everything. And he was like, yeah, it's a secret reference for the video. Yes, it's not so secret, but still, that movie is sick.
Yeah,
So
it really is. And I'm pleased to hear how many people agree with that, because it's like this little art house film that you'd think most people wouldn't go see, but like whenever I reference it, people know exactly what I'm talking about. So it deserves it because it got,
it does.
yeah,
And The Witch was sick too. I just really like
yeah.
Robert Eggers. I'm into some artsy movies and stuff, so it really appealed to me, and I can't wait for his next movie. It's like this Viking revenge
Oh,
thriller, and he's just the
nice.
perfect guy for that. You know, being from Iceland and stuff, like that sounds pretty great to me because he has this way of making things feel very authentic. So I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, he has a very, yeah, he definitely has a style, and I like it. The other thing that was interesting about this album coming out now is that um, just like less than 3 months ago, my latest daughter was born, and we named her Lilith.
Really?
Yeah, and then this
Oh,
album came out, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is like Lilith's album now. So yeah, I just thought that was funny too, and
sick.
we got into it too because of looking into the mythology and stuff. I know some people think that's weird because it has such a negative connotation, but we just thought it
It
was a really
does.
pretty name. It was
It's a
also,
cool name, and it's got some positive aspects as well, like female empowerment
yeah,
and you know, I think it's a cool name. That's
yeah.
very cool, man.
We actually originally landed on it because we were thinking about video game names, and I'm a big Borderlands fan as well, and that's like
Yeah.
my favorite character to play as in the Borderlands universe. But then we were kind of like digging deeper into the meaning behind it and everything. So, yeah, just interesting that serendipitous, I guess, that the
That
album
is
came
very
out.
interesting. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, touring is not a thing right now, but like, kind of what plans do you have in terms of sort of promoting the album at this point and kind of looking forwards?
Yeah, so now we've just been working hard at making like online promotional content, just playthrough videos. We actually made another music video, and that's coming out shortly after the album is released.
Cool.
And we're just always trying to get creative with that while we're stuck, basically not touring and stuff. We have some local gigs coming up, but we're talking to a tour manager, a booking agent, you know, so just to check the landscape, you know, if there's anything being planned ahead of time. And it might be difficult with festivals and stuff because everything is just most everything is getting moved from 2020 to 2021, the
Yeah.
lineups and stuff. So we're just kind of crossing our fingers, and hopefully we'll just keep at it, keep searching for it. It sucks to be stuck and not be able to promote our album on the road, you know, but hopefully like in early 2021 or something, you know, just hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll just have to see, you know.
Are you planning on focusing on Europe, doing the US? Like, what's the
Uh,
plan? Even though it's all up in the air.
Probably Europe like makes sense first, just because you know we're in Europe and it's really expensive to get visas for the States. But we definitely want to tour the States. I think our music just would do well in the States. You know, I'm very inspired by a lot of American artists and stuff as well. I grew up partly in the States actually. For like 3 years, I went to high school in California, and that's where I made strides as you know what do you call it, like a prospecting musician or something, you know, like where I was kind of finding my style. So touring the States is definitely a must. So that would probably come after maybe a Europe tour, but you never know. And Canada as well. We want to tour Canada. That's some where I think this kind of music is doing well as well.
Have you been on other like interviews lately or stuff talking about the album, and what are some reactions that you've been hearing so far?
Really good reactions, actually. It's been exceeding our expectations. Most of it is very positive. I thought that it might be a bit more polarizing. At least the people who are making themselves heard, has been overwhelmingly positive. Because I think always when you're blending genres like this, a lot of people are not gonna like it. There's so many genre purists and stuff.
Yeah.
But really good, just really good reviews, and the reception has been awesome. Just getting picked up on Metal Blade from the material is kind of a great stamp of approval, in my
Yeah.
opinion. At least it validates what we're doing, that we're doing something right. And just getting the email from Metal Blade was just insane, honestly. Reading that, I remember I woke up in the morning and I saw the email from them, and I just jumped out of bed and like, what the hell, and just the best coffee I could ask for there. And so it's been amazing.
Yeah, that'll wake you up for sure.
Yeah, sure. I can believe it.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting, and it was cool to get the. I'm always excited too, like because I get emails both from bands kind of just shooting out their own stuff to me, saying, "Hey, check this out," and then also like from the labels. And so when I get to see that transition, it's really cool because I've had a number
That's
of
awesome.
bands where it started, and I have an email from them like 3 years ago where they're like, "Hey, man, will you check out our band?" And then all of a sudden I get like I see their name pop up in an email, and it's like it's from Metal Blade, it's from Prosthetic, it's from Nuclear Blast, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, good for them!" Like,
Yeah, you get to see it from like the earliest stages, and that's awesome. It's a
yeah.
struggle, man. Like being independent and stuff. I remember that from the EP. Just sending stuff out and feeling so stupid about it. Feeling kind of like you're a beggar or something. But it's a struggle out there.
Yeah. Like, well, and that's honestly like why I built my entire like the sites and then this podcast and now the YouTube channel. Like my whole purpose was I was kind of seeing that, and I was like, man, there's all these artists that are just struggling and they make like totally rad music that honestly I feel like in most cases is better than like a lot of the stuff that I hear on sort of the main airwaves. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I want to like, I want to help out. I want to get their voices out there more. And so that's why I also like I always like to ask artists that I have on the podcast, are there other like kind of underground lesser known metal artists that you feel like deserve a lot more attention that you'd like to shout out?
Um, yeah, there's always some like uh, actually recently I've been blasting the latest Acme
Oh yeah,
album,
yeah, man.
Fit. And man, there's a song on there that just it hits me real bad. The Valley of Gourds, man, that song is such a banger, dude. And like that those guys need more attention. There's Monotheist is awesome too. Like I remember hearing, I think the album's called Scourge. Like that album blew me away. That was really a cool album and underrated band as well. Um, Man, I listen to so much music that just like trying to think of. And then there's some bands that I feel like now are kind of getting their stride. They're definitely still underground, but they're getting more attention. Like Imperial Triumphant, I've always been
Hell yeah,
intrigued.
man.
And yeah, just that latest record, really, I think just they've, it's their best so far, in my opinion. And they're getting attention for it as well because they're doing some weird shit and
Yeah.
and carving their own path. So
And
of course
when
I
they
can, but
when they get to the point too where like Anthony Fantano is reviewing their albums, that's always
yeah,
a nice help there too. I've been really pleased
for
to
sure.
see that he's been giving those albums attention and appreciating them. And it was cool. I had them on the podcast last year, back when touring was still going on. They were still touring for the previous album, which was also awesome, Vile Luxury. And I got to like
Yeah,
sit down with them at the venue and like do this live, which was really cool. And they're just cool dudes too. Like it's just neat to
yeah,
see them like do these crazy stage performances with the masks and playing this avant-garde style musicianship with all the
it's
jazz
awesome.
influences and just being terrifying. And then they sit down and it's just like a bunch of dudes having a beer and just chatting, and that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's being like kind of rooted in reality, and not taking themselves too seriously, but their aesthetic is amazing, and how
Yeah.
it fits with music and everything is awesome. But at the end of the day, they're just normal dudes like you and me, So
Yeah.
that's cool to embrace that as well.
Totally. Anyone else?
Let's see, man. Yeah, I'm kind of drawing a blank, but Gargoyle. That's
Yeah.
a band I think
Never heard of
might
them.
become more known now. But it's got Dave Davidson from Revocation. It's in like kind of the style of Virus, and I'm sure they'll get plenty of attention as well. They're really cool as well.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want people to know about, the album, the bands, plans moving forwards, all that kind of stuff?
Just the album is out on September 4th. It's I think a week from now, actually.
Yeah. And this
It's out.
episode will air. It's supposed to air on the 7th. I might.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be like the
That's
Monday
the week.
after it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I might flip that around. We'll see where it fits the best into the schedule.
If it comes out after, then yeah, our album's out. And I just recommend listening to the whole thing, because I think there's a little bit of something for a lot of people there, because we draw inspiration from so many different things. I think a lot of people will dig certain elements and even maybe the whole thing. And we just put so much into all the songs to make each song stand out and each song have a character of its own. So yeah, I would definitely recommend listening to the whole thing. But other than that, I think we covered all the bases.
Cool. Well, it's been great talking to you, man. And I always say I wish I had more time, because we could totally go in deep on like Between the Buried and Me and Sick. Then I'm sure we'd land on all sorts of other stuff too. But
For sure.
yeah, I know we both probably have other things that we also got to get done. But yeah, thank you for
I'm sure we'll talk again as well. So
yeah, for sure. I always say, like, the people I have on the podcast, like, consider me a friend at this point. Catch me on social media or whatever, and don't be a stranger. Feel free to reach out. I've even had bands be like, "Dude, have you heard the new so and so album?" And I'm just like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like, it's so good. Like, even just for shit like that.
Are you on Facebook or?
Yeah, I'm on everything. So you can find, if you search Metal Trenches in Instagram, Facebook, whatever, like, you can find me there, and it's usually not too hard to find me personally from there. And then you have my email too, so we can connect that way as well. Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this and taking the time, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you, man. It was awesome.
All right. Later. And that'll do it for another episode of Trench Talk. Hope you enjoyed it. I did, as always. Just fun to sit down with these bands and shoot the shit and have a good time. As always, though, if you haven't already, please do subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. Follow us there. And then also, if you're not following the YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to that as well, because there's tons of other content outside of these podcasts in video form that you can check out as well. Also in the description, you can find links to all of our social media, the email newsletter, and our Patreon and Subscribe Star if you want to make that extra jump to becoming a supporter. But that'll do it for this one. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.